innovate, and create lasting impact. And today I have my special guest. He's a connection chemist, founder, community-driven GEM strategy, none other than Mr. Paul Jones.
What's up, Daniel? Good to be with you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for being part on Entrepreneurship 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself so that I know?
Sure. Yeah. So I come from the outdoor industry. I was a river guide for a while. I started a paddleboarding company and then got into business and really started to think about what kind of an impact I want to have on the world. Where do I want to be spending my time? What problems do I want to be solving? Which has led me to this concept of community as go to market, building better ways to maintain relationships with your customers, bringing more of an abundance type model to lead generation, which, rather than just calling through a list and annoying people, you choose to live where you play. You choose to participate in the communities that you sell to and the buyer personas that you sell to. So at the end of the day, my hope is that we can kind of change the way that we do business and the way that we acquire business by doing it differently so that everyone wins, and being present so that everyone wins. And I think community has that potential to do that.
Everybody can win. We love that, Mr. Paul, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And today, let's talk about forget to go to market. It's time to connect to market. If I start thinking about launching to my market and started thinking about connecting with them, what would the first thing I do differently tomorrow?
The first thing you do differently tomorrow is stop building for a second.
Mm,
So have authentic, real conversations. I think one of the things that we as entrepreneurs get really excited about is we get excited about what we're going to build and the who comes second. But I think if you put the who first, who do you want to spend time with? Who do you enjoy being around? What's that buyer persona that you would be so excited to go to a conference and connect with? I think if you can answer that question first, then the what will fit into what you can also get excited about, because you're already excited about the persona that you're going to be interacting with. You can build a product that you think is really cool, but if you're selling to a persona that you don't really like or you don't really understand, you're not going to have as much fun as an entrepreneur. And being the fun part of the build is really what keeps your passion alive. I mean, you're literally, as an entrepreneur, seeing the future that no one sees, and it sounds crazy to other people. So you have to think, what's going to fuel you on a day-to-day basis? And one of the best ways to fuel yourself is by having really fun, interesting conversations with buyer personas that you enjoy being around.
very well said, Mr. Paul. Am I treating my audience as a target to hit or as a community to serve? And can they tell the difference?
Ooh, that is a great question. I would say 100%. And I love that you used two different words. One is audience, one is community. And audience and community are not the same thing, they're completely separate things. An audience is someone that passively listens and engages with one person. A community is where every person that's involved in the community has the potential to provide value to everyone else. So it's a key difference where inside of a community, people gather together to give value to each other under a certain goal. And so, yeah, I think 100% people can feel targeted. An audience can be targeted, right? Which is more so, hey, this is my solution. Do you want to buy from me? And that makes up, I don't know, 90% of the messages that we see on LinkedIn. It's just these, we call them pitch slaps, right? A community has so much more benefit, because rather than targeting an audience or targeting a persona and trying to, capture them and bring them into your business. A community approach is, how do I stay in constellation with my buyer? How do I understand what all their challenges are? How do I help them? How do I invest in helping them? And this creates more of that abundance mindset I was talking about earlier, but you're really much more committed to helping them and learning from them. And at the end of the day, you will build better products. You are going to build better products. You're going to market products much better. You're going to be able to maintain relationships. You'll be able to go to market much faster because you're starting from a place of trust, not a place of trying to convince someone to do something.
The place of trust. When I plan a new product or campaign, do I start with what I want to say, or do I start with what my ideal client persona is already struggling with searching for?
I think it's that latter one that you just mentioned. If you truly understand what your persona's challenges are and you're living with them and you know what they are, you can speak to it perfectly. You know exactly how to describe it. A good example of this is one of my clients. They had built their website. They went to market with a very specific message. They were an AI company, and their message was basically, utilize our product to work more efficiently. But as they started to spend more time with clients, potential clients, and their persona, they realized that the problems that their persona were having weren't related. They weren't saying, I want to work more efficiently. I want to work more effectively. I want to be more cost effective. They were saying things like, hey, we're having problems with staff turnover. We're having problems with career pathing. Those were the big challenges that they were facing. And so this company changed their messaging and they said, well, you can implement AI because it's ultimately going to help you retain your employees better, because employees hate answering the same questions over and over. Let AI take that off their plate so that they can be more creative in the problems that they solve. And so all of a sudden, being able to have that understanding of your buyer persona is key, because you can actually speak to what is on their minds and what they're struggling with in the moment.
Beautifully articulated. Mr. Paul, when I plan something different, like if a marketing suddenly stop working tomorrow, would I have a build enough genuine connection with my audience that they come looking for me anyway?
In terms of, okay, so you're not out in front and
Yes.
your marketing stops working, so your presence in the market is all of a sudden not there.
Hmm. We're testing whether you build a community or just, well, dependency on the platforms.
Mm-hmm. I think that when you invest in building your own community, you're able to maintain relationships at scale. So even when marketing doesn't necessarily work, your presence in the market never really goes away. And what comes to mind for me is when you have conversations with a lot of the best companies, a majority or a significant amount of their business actually comes from referrals. So when you build a product that can't be ignored, referrals are a big driver to a lot of these products. I mean, you can just look at AI adoption right now. It's AI adoption is absolutely insane. A lot of it is because AI solves so much of our problems and it helps us in so many different ways. But that's just a good case study on how referrals are kind of the gold where you want to be anyway. So even if your marketing were to stop now, if you've done a good job building your product and you've done a good job having presence in your market through community, I don't necessarily think you would see demand gen decrease, because you already have those relationships. You've built those relationships. You've built your product, and at the end of the day, if they're going through and your churn is low and customers are having a good experience, that's really long term what you should be relying on, is customers talking about you.
Mr. Paul, am I trying to broadcast my message to as many of people as possible? Or am I creating a condition where the right people feel seen and want to learn it?
Um, all these, I feel like that second question is or that second response is the answer. Uh, you want your customers to feel like they've been understood. You want them to feel like they've been seen, because that's telling them that you've spent the time to understand where they're coming from and what's going on. Um, Broadcasting a message to everyone, I think it in today's marketing, everyone's doing that. Everyone's trying to do that. So the markets are very noisy. Content is the competition for content is just absolutely incredibly amazing. I mean, it's just so much. So narrowly focusing on your ICP is going to dampen that down a little bit, and it's going to help you focus on what really matters, which is ultimately, the people that you want to have that relationship with.
Certainly. Do I know what keeps my ideal clients awake at 3 a.m.? Not the surface problem my product solves, but the fear beneath it.
Exactly. I think you have to, as an entrepreneur, I think you have to answer that question. I mean, your hope is that everyone's sleeping and isn't awake at 3 a.m. But if you were awake at 3 a.m., what is it that you would be thinking about? What is that underlying fear? I think you nailed it.
Mm, yes, indeed. If I had to describe my ICP's emotional state right before they discover they need someone like me, what would I say? And does messaging speak to that moment?
If you had to say, okay, so say that one more time. If you had to,
Yes, if I have to describe my ICP
mhm.
emotional state right before they discover they need someone like me, what would I say? And does my messaging speak to that moment? We are
Mm,
crafting the resonant messaging start with, you know, empathy or not features at all.
mhm, mhm. Uh, Great question. I think that the answer is probably going to be dependent on who your buyer persona is. I mean,
Mm,
I've seen empathy work before. I've seen features work before. I think it all depends on where that buyer persona is, and I think a big part of that initial sales process is I think it's important to understand where in the innovations curve you are. Are you primarily targeting innovators? Are you primarily targeting early adopters? Are you early majority? Are you late majority? So understanding which part of your persona, who not not only the emotional state of your persona, but also, am I talking to someone that's going to get really excited about, like a new approach, or am I talking to a late majority person who isn't going to be interested in trying something that's new? They're going to be that in that late majority category. So I think that the emotional state is influenced significantly uh, by the profile of the person, where they land on the innovator's curve. Because from there, you can understand, yeah, absolutely. You need to be able to empathize. Empathy creates that connection with them. And the way that you empathize is truly understanding what their challenges are and how they talk about their challenges. So that's definitely where you need to go first. But also, I think that innovators curve is a big part of that whole constellation of how am I going to approach my relationship with this person and what's going to be interesting to them.
Mr. Paul, when was the last time I actually talked to your real customer? Not survey them, not analyze their data, but genuinely listen to them. And what did I learn that surprised me?
Um, I just was talking to my customers an hour ago. actually. So
Hmm.
we did a virtual meeting. We were in and out of breakout rooms. We were sharing best practices. We were talking about challenges. And I think that one of the big takeaways from moments like that is always, um, when you think that you're dealing with a challenge that is unique to you, you'll be surprised at how many others there are that are dealing with that exact same challenge. It's not as unique as you think. There are others having those same issues. So being able to be open and vulnerable about that opens up this amazing door to innovative ideas where people bring to the table, um, how they've tried to solve those problems. So by speaking to your customer on a regular basis like that and spending time with them like that on a regular basis, you will constantly understand the landscape of, all right, well, here's the top 4 challenges everyone's facing right now. And here's how they're solving them. Here's how people are thinking about them.
Mm. Very well said, Mr. Paul. Am I treating community as a campaign with a start and end date, or as a long-term commitment that compounds over time?
I think you have to treat a community approach as a long term commitment. And I think it goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning, which is, when you're building a community, you want to build a place that you want to hang out, have conversations with people you would be excited to have conversations with, people you'd want to go to dinner with, because a community approach is much different. You were talking about, campaigns. That's very audience approach. That is a
Hmm.
very push type, pull type marketing approach. This is, um, connecting to your market. And so to truly connect, you have to show up, you have to be authentic, you have to be vulnerable, you have to be willing to have conversations around challenges and things like that. But ultimately, that's what sustains community. And over time, community becomes this, the benefit of it only increases. So, by staying close to your customer, you're essentially, it's like insurance. You're essentially ensuring that you're going to be able to know what's the next feature I need to build, what's the next product that I need to build, what's the next service I need to bring in. So you get to constantly be in that flow of entrepreneurship and forward thinking, by staying very close to your community. And so I think you have to kind of shift your mindset. There's a lot of, there's a lot of folks that look at community as, well, this is our lead gen strategy, and community is a great way to generate leads, but that's not the primary focus. That's the exhaust that comes off of it. If you approach it correctly, and if you approach it, authentically, it'll be something that will sustain you through downturns. It'll be something that uh, gives you further insight into where you need to go next, as I already mentioned. So there's just so many more benefits to it when you show up the right way.
Mr. Paul, as an entrepreneur, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, as an entrepreneur, my long-term goal is, I don't want to build things that just make money. I want to build things that change the way that people interact. I'd say that's more my long-term goal. And it's, I want to change the way that business gets done, the way that business gets, the way that people do business development in general, so that when everyone is engaged in business development, it's a rising tide that lifts all boats. It's something that everyone benefits from. And I think that long term wise, pulling that off will have such a substantial benefit to society. And so, as an entrepreneur today, I'm more focused on, basically building a business that has purpose, that achieves something greater than the business itself. It leaves people, humans, better off than we found them in the first place. That to me is something that's worthwhile to put your effort into. Short term, right now, it's, we're trying to create this new category. It's relational outbound. We had inbound marketing, we had outbound marketing, we had push, we had pull. Those things aren't converting like they used to. So there's new opportunities for new methods to be brought to bear and to be adopted again in the wider business world. And so short term, it's just putting on people's radars, hey, if we were to do business development differently, what could it look like? And I think a community approach fits into that category of, all right, how can I actually think about my business development in a different way that is more of a growth mindset and helps my clients? So getting that message out and getting people to think like, hey, you know what, there might be a different way of going about and doing business development is our short-term goal.
Mr. Paul, good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an entrepreneur like you?
I wish I had a good answer for this. The only thing is just fail. And when you fail, one of the lessons that I think I've learned time and time again is feedback is opportunities. Sometimes you'll build something and you're really excited about it and you get disappointed when the market doesn't quite accept it. So never give up, start somewhere and pay attention. Pay attention to your customers' reactions, pay attention to your users' reactions and what they're doing. And just, if you always have that curiosity mindset, you will hit something that really is going to make a difference. So most of it's just starting somewhere and recognizing that where you start isn't where you're going to end, but you got to start somewhere. And then from there, start to mold it and shape it through a curiosity mindset.
Mm. Yes, people, try until you succeed, and don't be afraid to fail. You will learn from them. So, Mr. Paul, when someone joins my community, do they feel like they entered the space where they belong or just another place where they're marketed to?
Yeah, good point. As human beings, belonging is important, and creating a space where people can belong is key. And in that word belonging, it's not easy. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that is involved in creating a space of belonging. But you want your community members to come to a place and be like, oh yes, this is my people. And right now in the digital age, this is the greatest time to be building communities, because in the past, before digital age, it was very hard to access your market. Today, your market is right at your fingertips. So being able to define and find community members has never been easier. And creating that safe space where people feel like they belong, a lot of it is centered around inviting people that are going to look at each other and go, oh, yep, you're like me. Yep, you're like me. Okay, this is a space where I feel like I can belong. And when I say look like me, what I mean by that is people going through the same experiences. There should be, you don't want to create an echo chamber in a community. You want to bring in diversity of thought and diversity of experience. But the way that you define who is there is often one of the biggest signals to community members that they're in the right spot.
Very well said, Mr. Paul. And to wrap up our discussion for today, what would change if I measured my marketing success by how I understood my audience feels rather than by how many people saw my message?
I think that what's going to change is your messaging is going to get a lot better. You're going to start to have a lot more fun. And as you start to have a lot more fun, you're going to start to have a lot more success.
Yes, have fun, people, because if you're having fun, for sure, even you're tired, you have the dedication of what you're doing, and you will do it every day. So, Mr. Paul, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support you and focus on your business or whatever project that you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101?
yeah, just find me on LinkedIn, Paul Jones 101. I'd love to have a conversation with anyone that's trying to build new business development models.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Paul Jones, because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering entrepreneurship mindset will rise. So, Mr. Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Danny. I'll talk to you later.
More to come, people. See you soon.